Okay then, for the double neck. Yes. Well, I wanted to make something look different and make something different, so I thought I'd go double neck, and it's been fun. Now, I'll say right from the beginning, this isn't really a kind of how-to video. There's some pictures and there's some photos, and I discussed some of the difficult bits that were specifically related to making the double neck guitar. But it's not like how to make a Cigar Box guitar. Effectively, the construction inside is very much like any other Cigar Box guitar. It's just there's two, you've got to do everything twice. And there's loads of other people who show you how to do that. So this is more just talking around some of the design aspects of this and some of the tricky bits of making it, because it's the fact that it's a double neck. So while I do it, I just want to look cool, and also we'll fancy the idea of trying out different necks with different tunings on and see how they work with different tunes. This has got a traditional GDG tuning at the top, with the pickup in the bridge area, and on the bottom we have GBD tuning, and effectively this string and this string are the same string, and so we had to try and get the right strings for here as well, so that those matched up. You can't just get two sets of normal strings and put them on here, because these ones have to be lighter gauge than these ones up here. So this box is not a traditional cigar box. I couldn't really find one big enough, so I used one of the off-the-shelf kind of boxes. I got it from CB Giddy, I think, and then I've done all the finishing and everything, and that's worked quite well. It's nice and strong. So in terms of the tricky bits of the guitar, quite a lot going on. The main thing is with the headstocks. So the headstocks, you can see they're kind of the slightly Spinal Tap type kind of horns here, which I decided to do. I made the mirror image because I felt that it would look much better and actually be easier to adjust if the tuners were accessible from bottom and from the top. Okay, other than trying to get your hands in here, and it just looks better. And so effectively these have to be a mirror image of each other, and so making that was not massively tricky, but I had to think about it quite a lot, because you want these to be identical. So effectively what I did is I kind of made them like that at the same time, and then anyway, there's pictures in afterwards about that. The other thing obviously is making sure that everything is equal, so they had to be the same length, so that it wouldn't look odd if there were different lengths. They also have to be like this way. They have to be, the angles have to be the same. They can't be like that or like that, because then it's going to look bad. So it's quite tricky inside when you're making one. There's nothing to reference itself to on a guitar. Then it doesn't matter if it's a little bit that way, a little bit that way. But when there's two, you really have to get them. You have to get them pretty bang on. And also, obviously, you can't have them like that either. Well, you can have them like that, but not when you don't want them to be. So, you know, you've got to be. There's a lot of. You've got to be very accurate when you're placing everything inside to make sure that it's nicely set up and looks good. Other than that, it's all pretty simple. Slightly different arrangement at the back here, which I explained in the video, to do with the tension that was put on the box, so I had to go through here into tailstocks. Decided to put the humbuckers in different positions to get a different tone. Well, that's how we've done it. So yeah, I think if I did it again, I'd probably put them in the same place. The idea being that this was going to be the kind of bassier side, the lower side of the neck. So we'd have this in the lower side here, so that slightly up, and then we'd have the higher strings down here with the humbucker towards the neck, so that it would sort of even them out. I think if I was doing it again, I'd put them both in the middle. Controls, I couldn't really find anywhere else to put the controls other than at the top here. So I've got a switch, a standard 3-way switch. That switch is basically one, other, or both. And I've got tone and volume for both humbuckers. So effectively very much like a kind of Les Paul style. At the moment I've got them basically wired in parallel, so each pickup goes through its own tone, its own volume pot, and then they meet at the switch, and then they go off to the jack after the switch. Another thing I did was I've kept the top floating, in a sense that I haven't screwed these bridges through the top into the through neck. That would have been ideal for strength point of view, but I wanted these two to remain floating on here, so that it had a really nice, it would have a proper kind of acoustic feel to it. I haven't put any sound holes in yet. I've got one sound hole at the top, which is there. I'd say it's there on purpose because it, you know, so that you can hear it when it's playing, but actually it's because I put a hole in the wrong place and I had to fill it up with something. So, but actually that works. I made sure that this is, yeah, these are floating, and to strengthen the wood that these are screwed into, I glued lollipop sticks underneath to sort of double the thickness of the wood, so that it was more like 6mm of wood instead of 3mm of wood, to make sure these held in properly. Action height. So I spent quite a lot of time putting a kind of 2-degree angle on both these necks and being very clever about that, and then actually when our band member Dom started playing it, he's cranked the action right up anyway so he can play it with a slide, so that was kind of a waste of time, but you know, at least if I want to, I can bring it right down and get the action right low. The body is fairly balanced. We tried to get, you know, I've put the guitar strap point here, and it was sort of okay, but in the end we've actually had to revert to the you know, the standard kind of round the neck, so there's a guitar strap here, and then we tie it onto the neck here, which is actually, and that works very well. I think that's about it. Yeah, so you can hear the different, I mean that's a standard GDG. Nice, you know, there's good volume on there. And then much higher. And there's also a different tuning style, so not just it's higher. So this is I think a more sort of Dioublo's tuning, and this is the standard tuning, you know. I'm a bass man, so I don't really know how to play it, but yeah, it's been fun making it, and we've used it in a couple of gigs. At the end of this, there's a link to Dom playing. We play a song with it, Running and Tumbling, which it works really well with. So you can do like the rhythm section, and then the kind of accented part of it on different necks with different styles of tuning, which works pretty nicely. So certain songs it really works very well with. And obviously people are always a bit surprised when you drag this thing out on stage. They thought they've suddenly gone back to the 70s, and we all should be wearing silver capes and stuff, so maybe. Anyway, as usual, any questions, please send me in the comments. The other thing is that because it's very, these are both floating, you find that this strumming there will actually reverberate through this pickup as well. So even if you have that pickup switched off, you can have this pickup switched off. You strum those, you strum these, and then this will start singing. So it's quite interesting. It's kind of got a bit of a feedback mechanism in it. It's got its own kind of tone. I haven't got a guitar amp, so I need to proper guitar amp, so I need to do a proper demo of it. But it is quite interesting the way that it sort of feeds back into each one from the other because for the floating top. So that's what I wanted to do. So there you go. Okay. Any questions? As I say, give me a shout. Bye.
Spreading round that Texas town, that shack outside the Grange, you know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that whole mile down the range. You got a lot of nice girls.
Okay, so just some thoughts about neck angle. Neck angle is the angle effectively between the neck and the box. Okay, and what that does is it alters the string action along the neck, and you'll find that if you basically just build a straight box type arrangement where you put the neck up onto the box, then you put the fretboard here and you stick a bridge on there, you'll find you have quite a high action sort of around here. You'll have about 7mm or something like that, which is fine for a lot of people, and a lot of people like it like that. It's good for slide. But if you want to bring that action down to make it more playable in terms of fingering, then one of the options is to put a neck angle on effectively by cutting an angle on here, so that when you put it in the box, rather than being like that, it's effectively like that. And so then you'll bring these strings sort of down, but this end will remain the same. So you'll effectively sort of do this sort of thing. But it's a tricky thing. It's not that tricky actually, but a lot of people will think that's quite a tricky thing to do. So one thing you can do, which I often do, is you do a full drawing and you literally just draw it up in a side view, in a plan, and you work out how you want, what kind of neck angle you want, and then you measure off the drawing and you go, okay, you need to cut 7mm off that end, and then if you do that, it'll, and make that angle to where it goes into the box. That'll give you 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees or whatever. But there's another option whereby you kind of mock up what you're going to do. So if you take that, which is where the nut's going to be, then you take a fretboard. I'm going to put that plate there just basically to mimic frets. Then you get the thickness of your bit of wood on there, which is the top of the board, and then you get your net, and then you get your bridge, but put the bridge in the right position, and then you get a straight edge. If you look like that, you can see that about here, you've got quite a big gap, and effectively that's the gap you want to lower. So then what you can do is you can measure this end here by the bridge now. Sit there and go, okay, that's read it now in glasses. That's effectively kind of 10 mil, but actually what I want to do is I want it to go down to say that, and you measure this again here, and that's like 5 mil. And so you know that at this point here you need to effectively reduce, you need to take this bit of neck here down by 3 mil, okay? But you don't take it down by 3 mil all the way along. This is where you go into the box on the Cigar Box Guitar. So you effectively, you keep that point here, and then you get the point there, which is 3 mil down, and you draw a line down that way. In this sort of a bit like sort of that. Okay, and that's the line you want to follow. So you draw that line on, and you get a plane, and you plane it all smooth and back, and then effectively then what will happen is then your neck will sit like that in the box. And that will give you hopefully the right neck angle. You can always adjust it anyway, because if you've got an adjustable bridge, you can move the bridge up and down, and therefore you can have some adjustment in the action on the frets. A couple of points to note though is that now that that's going to be at an angle, when you cut the end here, effectively you need to mirror their angles because it's going to go into the box like that. So if you cut it straight, as if it's like that, then it's going to be on a point here. So you really need to cut that angle. And also, you know, I'm going to have to glue another chunk under here because I'm going to have a cutaway for a pickup, like a coil pickup, mini humbuckers going in here. So I'll have to have a glued on bit here. So effectively this bit at the front is going to have to be at an angle. And then both the bits at the back are going to have to be an angle. So they sit in the box sort of like that, rather than like that, which will mean that there's only really point contact. But I've done them without angles and with angles, and there is it's a much nicer playing action with a neck angle on it. And it's normally about 1.5 to 2 degrees, and that depends on how long you want your neck. Because the shorter the neck, the bigger the angle, I think. One way around anyway. And it means that you have a more parallel, aside from just having a lower action here, you have the strings will tend to be more parallel to the fretboard, which means that you have a more even they're more even to play along the fretboard. Okay, I hope that helps. Give it a go. Thanks. Yeah, another minor point is basically when you decide, you know, at what stage during the build do you decide to put this neck angle on. You know, you can, in a lot of ways, you may think actually it's better to glue the fretboard on, put the frets in if you're fretting it, put the nut in even, but at least the frets. So you can fully judge the height. You know, when I was trying to do it there, I was kind of falling about a bit because bits were falling off. And then you know exactly where you stand, so you can really judge that angle accurately. I'm choosing to do it now because I'm going to have to plane down along here, and if I have the end of my fretboard there, then effectively that's going to get in the way of me trying to plane it. And so it's you know, a bit if I had a bandsaw, I could probably I'd probably do that, and I'm gonna with the bandsaw, because you could then just come along like this, come along nicely, and do a nice little cut there, and maybe just finish it off with the file or a rasp there. So you know, it's one of those things where I don't think there's any particular right or wrong way of doing it. It just depends on how you want to do it yourself, and what tools you have and how you feel comfortable. So I'm just going to do it like that, so I can just get in there with the plane. I've marked it up now, and it's always surprising how much wood you have to take off. you sit there and go, oh, that looks like a lot of wood. You know, there's 7mm at the end here. That's, yeah, I mean, it's you're putting a 1.5 to 2 degree angle. You'll take quite a lot of wood off. And what you can do as well, obviously, is you can take a certain amount off and then, you know, put it in, fill it up, look how, see how it works, and go, yeah, that's good enough, or maybe a little bit more if you don't have to just go straight in there. Okay.
You know you shook me. You shook me all night long. You know you shook me, baby. You shook me all night long.
Right, so when I first assembled this, I had these bridges here, and there were 2 bridges, and I'd screwed them directly to the wooden top, so I could get a nice kind of resonant vibe to it, so acoustic vibe. I specifically not screwed them through to the tailpiece, specifically because I wanted them to be floating, which will get a very nice, quite a loud sort of acoustic noise to them. However, when we started cranking the strings up, you could tell it was starting to really pull the, these were pulling the top up, and it was looking pretty dodgy. I already strengthened underneath by gluing lollipop sticks onto the underneath of here to give it more bite for the screws to screw into, which has worked nicely. But the top itself was just not strong enough to deal with effectively 6-string tension. So then what I've done is I got some nice ace spade type stainless steel tail pieces, which I've screwed right through here, which go straight into the through neck, so very solid. The string goes through the bridge, out the back, and then hangs on there, so that effectively this is still suspended nicely, but the tension is really only taken by the tail pieces, so it's you know, a nice strong system, and it seems to work very well. So yeah, so that was that.